Hi, so today we're going to do a class using the stamp set Butterfly Wishes. It's called a distinctive set. Stampin' Up! Has developed this process where they make these stamps called distinctive, and the depth of the images is just really cool. It looks like you've watercolored it, or just that's one image, and how they've done this I don't know, but I just love it. So doing something different. This is my first class online, and we're doing this since everyone's been locked down. We haven't been able to get together. So this is a whole new process for me. Normally when I do a class, I want to show you as many stamp sets and techniques and punches and embellishments as I possibly can. But since this is online and you can't come here to use my stuff, I wanted to design something that only used one stamp set and just a very limited number of supplies. So this class is going to have 5 different cards using only the Butterfly Wishes stamp set and the colors Pretty Peacock, Pool Party, and Crumb Cake. Love how they go together. And the Duet Butterfly Punch that punches out a couple of the images in the stamp set. And then our cardstock here that coordinates. So we'll get started. The first card is super quick and easy. It's just one layer of the thick Whisper White cardstock, and I've got it scored. If you're just starting out card making, to make a card base, you take your 8.5 by 11 and just cut it in half at the 5.5 inch, and then you can score it the other way at 4 1/4. So, got my card, and I'm using my bone folder to give it a good crease. And this only uses Pretty Peacock and Crumb Cake. If you haven't used the newer style cases before, they open up like a compact. You just open it up and push it in. And about a year ago, Stampin' Up! came up with the cling stamps, so they stick to your blocks really nicely. I love it. So we're going to ink this up. And this Pretty Peacock is a really rich color, so it works really well to just stamp it once, stamp it again, and stamp it again. Love it! And then take the Crumb Cake. So the stamp set has nice images, but also great sentiments. We're going to ink up It Was a Perfect Day Because of You. And since you can see through the block, it's pretty easy to get this straight. But if you have a hard time getting your sentiments straight, the Stamparatus is a great tool for that. But I've got my grid paper here, and it'll help me line this up. It was a perfect day because of you. And we are done with our first card. I told you it'd be quick and easy. So I'm going to clean my block. This is the chamois. You just wet it down. When it gets really dirty, you wash it out. Does a great job of cleaning off the stamps, especially on the Stamparatus. Gets into all the nooks and crannies. And then our next card is almost as simple. It again is going to start out with the Whisper White card base. And I need the Crumb Cake again. We're going to take this image. I went ahead and put all my stamps on blocks, so you didn't have to watch me do that. That would be kind of boring. And stamp this twice, kind of crisscrossing. All right. And then ink the flower image up in the pool party. And just ink these wherever you want. And this time I'm going to stamp a different butterfly up here. And then the sentiment. On the sample, I used a sentiment from Peaceful Moments, which is such a good sentiment set. But I'm going to stick with just the stamp set we're using today. So I think I'll do this one with Birthday Wishes. And do that in Pool Party. I don't like where I've stamped that. So every piece of cardstock has two sides. That's a little better. So using a new adhesive today. This is the Stampin' Seal. Have not played around too much with it yet. I'm going to see how I like it. It's new in the catalog. They have taken the snail out and added Stampin' Seal. One thing I'm not that happy about is I made this cute little tool caddy, and it's awfully big, but it does still fit, so that's cool. But one really nice thing is it has more than the snail did by about 3 yards, so that's cool. But it works the same way as snail. And these two shapes are a couple of punches in the catalog. They came out in the spring and they're so versatile. Love them. Now I need a couple of dimensionals to pop this up. So I think this needs a little bit more. This is from a die in the new catalog, the Forever Fern dies. I thought that'd just be a nice little pop. So I'm going to put this on with a little bit of glue. Love this Tombow. Don't need much. Put this behind to get it where you want it. So it just is peeking out a little bit, add some interest. And there's our second card. And the third one is Birthday Wishes. And I'm going to stamp this panel first. And we're going to ink up the Pretty Peacock in the biggest image. And just like I did before, this is such a saturating color that I'm going to stamp off a couple times and it'll look like I used a different color. But nope, it's all the same color. And then this one, this image in the pool party. And finally, to fill in, also in pool party, this little bitty butterfly. I think I need one more up here and make that a little bit darker. All right, so there's that panel. And another thing I'm not quite used to is Stampin' Seal. With the snail, the cap stayed on and you just closed it up. With this one you have to keep track of the lid, so make sure you keep track of your lid. And my panel here is the length of the card, 5.5 inches by 2, and then 2 1/4 for the panel of Early Espresso. And we'll put that on a pool party base. Yeah, I'm liking this Stampin' Seal. It goes on really smoothly and sticks nicely. Love that. So I've got the same 2 punches. Don't remember now the names, but like I said, they're great punches, so versatile. Let's do Love to Celebrate You this time. And we'll do that in the crumb cake. On Early Espresso. And I gave some texture to this label. If you can see, let's see, yeah, there. This is an embossing folder in the new catalog in the Fern suite. It's called Greenery. And kind of, it's leaves, but it also kind of looks like knitting or something. But really cute. And again, we'll use our dimensionals. And there's our third card. And next we've got this, It Was a Perfect Day Because of You. This one uses another Whisper White base and a panel of crumb cake. And that one I've run through my die cut machine using the 10 tile embossing folder. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this layer, and then we'll work on our butterflies. All right, so for this one, we're going to be using the Butterfly Duet Punch. And we're only using this size, but it'll stamp, or it'll punch both, and you might be thinking, well, how does that work? Well, the way you want to line up your stamps so that you could punch both images if you want to, is the first thing you do is just put a scrap piece of cardstock in and punch. So now you know how that's going to punch, and then you would line up your stamps in that negative image and mount them on your block just like that, and it will punch out perfectly every time. But we're not going to do that because we don't need the little stamps, the little images punched out. But when I have a builder punch like this, I always stamp, or I always punch one of these out, and I keep it in the case with the stamps so I'll know how to line them up. So this time I'm using two different colors. I'm using both the Pretty Peacock and the Pool Party on these butterflies. Make sure I've got this nice and clean before I stamp it in the Pool Party. All right, so I'm going to stamp it in the Pool Party, but then I'm going to take my Pretty Peacock and just sponge some Pretty Peacock onto the stamp. And I've got some scrap Whisper White here. That one does not have as much variation in color as I'd like to see. So we're going to do that again. So clean that off. And then ink it up in the Pool Party. Get some Pretty Peacock on here. That's better. Let's see what that looks like. That's more interesting. So see the variation in color there? And we'll do that again 3 more times. So clean your block, clean your stamp, ink it in the Pool Party, sponge Pretty Peacock, and stamp. Oh, I like that one. I got a good dew on that one. Probably should have stamped some of these ahead of time because you don't need to see me do this 4 times. But that's okay. If I get really sophisticated, I'll figure out how to speed up. All right. So I have my butterflies stamped, and now we punch. So when you punch, you always punch upside down so you can see what you're going to punch out. There's one. There we go.
Describe an age. Oh, are you in the middle of the video?
I am.
Okay.
And that first one that I stamped, I'm going to punch it out because I actually do need it for the last card. So that one we'll hang on to for the next one. All right. So we'll take our punched out butterflies and put them on with glue dots. I'm going to see where I want them first. So we'll line them up. How does that look? Are you happy with that? I think so. Okay, so you take a butterfly, and for glue dots, you don't want to pull them off and try to stick on. You just take your image that you want to stick down, put it on, pull off the glue dot, and put it down. And just right in the middle there. This card we get some bling. We're going to take some of the Pearl Basic Jewels and use our Take Your Pick tool. These come in several different sizes. I kind of like the medium size. Just put that there in the middle. Give it a little bling. And these are pretty forgiving. If you don't get them quite where you want them, you just scooch them over. Or if you really mess it up, you just pull it off and start over. One more. And now, because these are butterflies, they need to look like they're flying. Okay, that's the wrong one. That's the sample. Let me just bend these up a little bit so they look like they're flying. And for our sentiment, we'll go back to "It was a perfect day because of you" and Crumb Cake. Oops, did not do that straight. Just not paying attention. Let's try that again. I always like to line up and line this up. That looks better. Yeah. And let's pop this up with some dimensionals. I like these mini dimensionals for smaller shapes. Okay, that's number 4. We've got one down, one left to go. And if you've ever come to my classes, you know how much I love sponging. So this one we're going to take our time with and sponge to our heart's content. So it's a crumb cake card base, but we're going to start out with the card front out of Whisper White. And we'll start building our color. Well, I think I'm going to sponge first. So we'll sponge in the pool party. And the way you don't get an ugly blotch of color like that is you start off your paper and work your way in. And I want my corners to have more color. It'll get lighter as it moves toward the center. And I'm only going to do the pool party, but if you wanted a deeper, richer card, you could also layer just in the corners some Pretty Peacock. That would be pretty. And while I'm sponging, I'm going to sponge the tag too. So for something a little like this, you just scrape across like that. All right. So we've got that sponged. And now I want to stamp my branch in the crumb cake. And then need some flowers. A couple more. And then I'm going to stamp a couple butterflies in the Pretty Peacock. And I'll show you what I did here. I don't like the placement of this butterfly, so I'm going to move that more to the center. So let's put this butterfly more there. Oh, gonna have to cover that up. Not a problem. We can do that. I missed a spot. But we'll cover it up. Not a problem. And a couple more butterflies. We've neglected this one today. We'll do one down there. Oh, getting in a hurry, but that's okay. We'll cover it up. Because I'll cover that. I've got another butterfly to cover that one. So use my favorite that I don't remember the name. It's got a label in it. It's a label punch. We've got these again. And put this on dimensionals. And I'm going to make sure that this is covered. And we'll stamp Love to Celebrate You. I think I'll do this in the Pretty Peacock. Love to Celebrate You. Now, how are we going to cover that, you say? What? Like this. So we need another pearl. This time, since we only have one butterfly, I'm going to be really extravagant and put 3 pearls. The problem with doing 3, though, is you have to be really good and get them in a straight line. So I start out with the middle, take a deep breath, and I should have my reading glasses on for this, but I think that's okay. And then the third one, not bad. There we go. Wiggle it in place. I think so. And we need a glue dot. And let's cover that puppy up. All right. Now this is on an early espresso layer. Oh no, it has holes in it. Well, I don't like wasting a whole quarter sheet of cardstock for a layer. So I punched out our labels before I put the card together. So makes me feel better about doing multi-layered cards when I don't waste all that lovely cardstock. So we'll center this. The card front is 4 by 5 1/4, and then the next layer is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then that goes onto our card base at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm kind of warming up to this Stampin' Seal. Pretty cool stuff. So here are our cards. That one. Let's make sure this little guy looks like he's flying. That one. That one. Birthday wishes. It's a perfect day because of you. Thanks for joining me. I do hope to have an in-person open house to show you all the fun things in the new catalog toward the end of the month. So I do hope to see you soon. Until then, bye-bye.